Apologize if I sound weird or even look weird in this video. Yeah, left side of my mouth is numb. I've just come back from the dentist. But regardless, today we're going through the best storytellers in Australia. Now, there'll be discussion throughout the video, but storytelling isn't always telling a story in chronological order. It can be telling a story about a certain point in an artist's life. I don't know what the technical terms for this is gonna be, but yeah. And I mean, if you really wanted to get into it, then there's like the visual storytelling and everything else that goes into it. But we're mainly focused on the artists themselves and what they can do through the music. So I put the question out on Instagram, plus a few of my own artists, and here's some of the people that were mentioned. Let's start with Complete. Complete is one of the artists and probably the reason why I'm making this video, you know? Like, just being real. His name was probably the one that will most commonly come up in this, you know? And when I think of storytelling, Complete is one of two artists that comes to mind first. I mean, Taxi is a beautiful example of that storytelling. His track Jordan is another beautiful example of storytelling in their own right, despite them being quite dark tracks, you know? Complete has just this great ability to tell such a deep story, but make it sound so simple with his words. What we mean by that is he doesn't have to have his crazy lyricism to do it, you know? Like, he just not necessarily, yeah, in some ways he does simplify what he's doing, you know what I'm saying? Like, he simplifies what he's doing and just lays it out so cleanly. Anyway, what time did you start your shift? Do you charge a bit more when you're driving it after 6? Like, here he's setting the tone for the track already. Like, he's having dialogue with himself, but you can imagine what the conversation's like, despite him only speaking from his perspective. He's speaking from a first person perspective. This isn't a storytelling track where it's third person, where he's talking about Complete or about another character. He's speaking from his own perspective, but he's still managing to have a one-way conversation with himself, but you can imagine what the dialogue would be from the other person. That line way where she fainted and stayed laid down till her mates found her and then here you have like the visual storytelling paired with it, but then just the way how he pours his heart and soul. Yeah, there's a few Complete tracks that we can bring up that will be a great example of storytelling. Taxi is just one of the newest ones that I think is one of the best. Alex Jones is going to be next on the list, and he's more of a personal pick for me, although a couple people did like, you know, pick him, and a couple people did mention his name. And Alex Jones is here for me personally because he's not here to tell a story in chronological order. It's not like Complete where he tells the events as they happen. It's, you know, taking a point in time, taking an emotion, taking a mindset. Like, I watched a video recently from a YouTuber called Sideways who normally breaks down like film score and shit, and he did a video and he had to touch on like different types of operas, and there's like recitative, something like that, which is like telling the events as it happened, and then there's an aria, which it like pauses time almost, and it allows the singer to explain everything that they're feeling in that moment. Alex Jones almost has like an aria in 3.5 minutes. What I mean by that is he almost pauses time and manages to tell you how he's feeling at that point in time. Does that make sense? I know there's somebody sitting at home like, why is this brother speaking to me about opera music? Just hang on with me. I guess if we're somehow drawing a comparison between hip hop and opera, Complete, when we was talking about him as a recitative, he pulls the story along in time as he's telling it. And Alex Jones, the example I'm about to give is like an aria. It's like a pause moment in time, and it's explaining how he feels in that moment. I'm trying here, people. It's like they want to see me die. Have a look deep inside and you'll see my pain. 6 in the morning. So it's like, yeah, at that point he's talking about a specific point in time. He's talking about how he's feeling. He's not like, oh, and at 4:52 this is as it's happening out loud. Although he just did a 6 in the morning bar, but you get the idea. Let's say that is the moment at 6 a.m. in the morning, pause time, how am I feeling? Get where I'm coming from? That's the easy way. I'm aware that I need a change. I want to vacate, leave this place, but I'm back on the streets again. Like, and it's just so clean how he reels it off, and he's so good at painting a picture in your mind, you know? He's so good at being able to connect you as a listener to him as an artist. Somebody else who's great at this is Husky. And any excuse to bring this song back as the example is perfect. Chill and Husky here doing Dust to Dust, telling both very deep stories. And every time I revisit this song, I'm like, yo, it's even longer ago that I heard it for the first time. It's even longer ago that it was released, but like, it still holds up. Every time I go back to it, it still holds up in my opinion. And this is telling the story. This is like looking back at a point in time and telling the story as it unfolded over a span of time. Completes was in time as it was going. Alex Jones is a pause moment, and now this is looking back at like a weeks and months period of their life. Don't know if I'm explaining this well, if this is getting too complicated for my own good now.
I give her space, let her move on and try be a mum, and she says I'll never see him and disappears on the run.
And again, to be able to tell that story with so much emotion, it just drags you into that story. It immerses you. You forget that you are the person who you are. You are almost like a ghost watching all the events unfold. You know, you can picture and you can imagine the scenario. And what both of these artists do really well is being able to paint a picture. And I think Husky does more storytelling stuff on a regular basis through his music. That's more of his style. Chill can do it very well, but Husky's in that lane a little bit more. And just, I feel like they do such a good job of painting such a clear picture. There's like storytelling, and what these guys do is they kind of set the scene really well. They set it so clear so that when the story starts, you know exactly what's going on and you can paint that image on your mind. It's almost like they set the stage and you almost play that story out in your head, because they don't go into specific details, but you can picture what's going on and you can take from it as you will. And that's where music is up for interpretation. I think some of the best writing can be delivered that way, so that there isn't every finite detail put in there. Some of it is for you to just imagine. I think there's an art to that. Next artist I'm bringing up is Colby D. He was probably on Instagram on the questions thing. He was probably second most mentioned to Complete. A lot of people saying Complete and Colby D. Like, again, Colby D's storytelling ability is very, very simple, and it makes it so easy to follow along. Like, I absolutely love and adore Alex Jones as an artist, but there are times where the bars are mad intricate and it takes you a few listens to get, which is the art in itself, and I kind of appreciate that more. But what Colby D is able to do is lay it out in such a simple way that you don't even have to be a fan of hip-hop. You don't have to be a lyric head to follow along with what he's saying. As long as you're able to just listen to him bar by bar, it will make sense. You know what I mean? As long as you pay a little bit of attention, you can follow along quite easily.
So let me take you back to where this story began. Little Jody, cousin Cody, and their best friend Ben. Now
see, look, instantly there, he's just laid out the names. He's saying it's back where, just so simple, such a simple start, but it works.
See, he had to be strong, cause his mother's getting sick and doesn't have too long, so we had to.
What I like about these storytelling type tracks as well is that they normally pick beats that are quite simple. So when you want to tell a story, you don't want the instrumental to take the spotlight. Of course, it could be a nice beat in it, but you'll normally have something along like the boom bap lo-fi shit that just lays out a very simple platform for you to tell your story. Sometimes you'll get mad piano and violins and this, that, and the other for like a build-up if there's like a climax. But for the most part, the start of the story, you don't want the instrumental doing nothing mad, because you want the listener to be focused on your lyrics rather than the instrumentation as a track. You are, I know this sounds weird, but you are storytelling, not songwriting, although it's in the form of music. A name that I could not skip over for this little trilogy here is Elijah Yo. Now, Elijah Yo's in the UK at the moment doing his thing, trying to do his thing over here, but, you know, this shit is good storytelling. I believe there was, 3 songs and they all linked in with each other, and I just like how he's able to speak. So here, when we was talking earlier about the third and first person perspective, like Colby D and Elijah Yo are speaking from a third person point of view. They are talking about the characters, they are narrating the story.
With a dude alone, as soon as she in the zone, she said go ahead and judge me, and no one ever loved me.
And what Elijah Yo is doing is he's adding the dialogue in there as well, and he's able to change his delivery just ever so slightly to the point where you can tell when the character's speaking, but it's not too distracting at the same time either. You know, he's able to just slightly change the inflections in his voice so you can tell which character's speaking, but the ability to storytell and then add dialogue in there is mad. It's not an easy thing to do. Believe me, I've had my attempts at this with Alone in the Rain, and I don't feel like I pull it off as good as half of these artists.
Explain, she say, how would you explain your dad was high when he took your virginity while calling you your mother's name?
Like, yo, you know what? I wasn't meant to get this far into the story, innit? Like, but I just got so immersed in that story. It's unreal. The way how he lays it out, and again, having a back and forth conversation between two characters, and you clearly can tell who's speaking to who. You don't mix it up. Like, you know which character's speaking. Like, that's not an easy thing to do. Yeah, I'm gonna leave this video here, you know. I don't want to go into it too deep, but I just wanted to have a light discussion about it and just kind of cause discussion from you guys. Who do you think is the best storyteller in Oz? Is there anybody that is just being criminally overlooked here and not being mentioned at all? Again, let me know. And yeah, have the discussion. Who's the best storyteller?